Out of the espresso coffee, Dr. Illy, it's always a nice place for me to go to find a definition of what is what. And there's a sentence in there that I thought was kind of pretty basic. It said, a defect is anything that diverges from a normal bean inside the lot, and that can be produced in the field or during the harvest, processing, transport, and storage. So that's pretty big. A defect could be a bean that's not exactly the same as all the other beans that aren't exactly the same as all the other beans anyway. So there's really no similar bean. Every bean is different. Therefore, what makes it a defect? And I think it's maybe like maybe a flavor component that isn't consistent or is off for what you're hoping to get or expect out of that coffee. But doing a lot of blind cuppings that, in the last couple of months here at Dogwood, I've kind of put an arrangement of coffees on the table that, in one aspect, if you knew what it was, you would be giving, people tend to score it higher, but if you don't know what it is, then people tend to score it lower. I've played around with a lot of Kenyan coffees, some which were from about a year ago, and some that were not so, I guess, traveled or loomy or whatever, baggy, this could be a word for it. It just kind of seems to, my scoring, I'm keeping an 86 or something like that, but then as a Kenyan, I would think it would be lower, like maybe an 84. But I didn't know it was a Kenyan at that time, because it didn't quite taste like a quality Kenyan. But anyway, and then Sumatra is another example, and then also Brazil. So. And then once people understand what they are, then they reevaluate how they're perceiving the coffee, and then they score it in that manner, which I'm still trying to figure out whether or not double-blind cupping is a positive or negative thing. So anyway, that's what's going through my head all the time. So some of these questions that, I have questions that don't have answers, Are Sumatra coffees defective because they smell like a moldy basement? At what point do natural processed coffees become overly fermented and are considered defective? A peaberry was once considered a defect, so I'm assuming, but now it's not. The Rioy defect was once sought after by markets in Eastern Europe. I heard that at an SCA thing once. I'm not sure if that's true, but I believe that it is. Is that true?
I've heard of it.
Okay. And some consumer markets prefer robusta over arabica. I believe that that's also true. Is that true? Some people are like, oh, that doesn't taste like espresso. That's like, what is that? And I give them some arabica or some robusta. They're like, yeah, that's espresso. So I think that the psychology, like the human psychology behind like how people perceive and define quality is really what I would like tonight to be about. But I'm still trying to, well, let's just say, kind of busy. Don't have time to think about it beyond that. So the other one is like, can we hope to find that the potato defect becomes a sought-after delicacy? If Italy can popularize Casu Marzu, which is a cheese served with live maggots, or if kopi luwak can be popularized, why not find comfort in the essence of potato defect? You might get lucky and get it. Pay that extra money for that lot that is really super rare. And it's like winning a prize or something. Potato defect, woo! Or like bagging. It's like maybe just hold your coffee. If you go long, just bagging. Just like, or like Sumatra, it's like, oh, it tastes like dirt, but that's okay. Or fermented, it's like, oh, I like the taste of like, dirty diapers or like rotten fruit. So where do you draw the line and how do you define who likes what? Because Robusta, I'll tell you, half of you guys are going to gag on it. And that's the last one that I put on the table tonight. So, and I tried to arrange them from least offensive to most offensive. Except for the clean coffees over there. I call them clean. You can call them something different if you want, but yeah. I kind of want to make this fast. Any questions? Any comments? Because that's kind of like the end of my presentations. And now we're gonna go clean coffees tonight. We have Guatemalan Rosma, which is my new favorite coffee that Dogwood has. It's banging, just a all-around quality coffee. It's those type of coffee that when you cup it, you know that this is a well-structured, balanced coffee. I'm super excited about it every time I've had it. No matter how badly or perfectly brewed it was, it still has that great cup. Ethiopian Chepedito is another favorite of mine. Colombian Meridiano. We have Mexico sample. Nicaragua from Cafe Imports. Ecuador from Cafe Imports. The Cerrado from our inventory, and the Sumatra, which I found, which is probably not a good sample. I just found it. It's like a couple years old. Like I had a cultivar for a couple years, but I just want to throw it on there and be like, hey, that's a baggy old crappy Sumatra. No phone. Yeah. And but we do have some half-wit I just got in. Yeah, it's an ECX lot.
ECX.
Pretty good. And the other one I haven't tried yet, but it's a natural. So it's really nice to have in the table. It's good. Roast defects. We also have baked and scorched. Stephanie did a pretty good job messing these up. It's a lot harder to do than. You know, I tried to scorch coffee like on a Proverb. You really had to work hard at it. You know, I was like thinking like, okay, I'm going to try to overcharge the drum. That didn't work. Then I tried to like restrict the airflow and like get it up to 500 degrees. And then I just kind of lifted it up a bit so the drum actually didn't rotate, so I just kind of burned it. But then Stephanie tried it with undercharging the drum, basically 50 grams, and then that worked a lot better. So, and the scorched, you know, there you go. The baked coffees, thin body, gritty, sour, grain, light, astringent, depending on the coffee. Sitting in a roaster too long without enough heat to develop properly for cause. Baggy, there you go. Cause, there it is. It's also over there. Travel, this is from Ian, Cafe Imports. And I asked him, hey, can I quote you on this? This is great because it's kind of like a new way of explaining thing that like people have a hard time really defining. So travel is closer to age, but has things more has some things more characteristics with baggy. Travel, as I'm assuming it indicates a coffee that probably for moisture heat reasons is prematurely showing its age. Basically, I guess we call that fading. Coffee is fading. See, is there a difference between fading and travel?
I mean, it's definitely fading.
Yeah.
But it's like
force fading.
It's almost like you can taste some really good things. You know that it's good coffee, but then you also taste the bagginess too. Would you say like you're like, oh wow, I can see how this is a really good coffee, but it tastes like burlap on top of good coffee. It's almost like taking a good fresh coffee and blending it with a bag of coffee.
We've got some of that.
Okay.
So yeah, there you go. And then potato, unidentified, travel, potato. Just want to get back to it. Fermented, you know, like unripe, immature Quakers. Let's talk about that real quick, because we're not done anyway. This is one of those where I'm trying to figure out the difference between unripe, immature, underdeveloped, and Quaker. What's the difference? So there's the taste, Quaker, Robusta-like flavors, at least to me, underripe, underdeveloped, processes the field and roast properly. I seem to, like, I went to one of the cuppings somewhere, I don't know, below COE, Mexico. I just had this, like, distinct flavor on all the coffees that, like, they were, you know, some of them were pretty good, but a lot of them had this, like, well, I didn't know why they had a kind of a faint Quaker taste, and I was curious to see, like, what is that? So Ian was kind of said something like they have this habit of picking the coffee when it's a little young, so therefore it's a little bit underdeveloped or underripe, where it might cause, like, this attribute that kind of is similar to Quaker. And that's just a part of their cultural history of agricultural production. They just get it out, you know, as fast as they can because it's about yield and money at that point, not so much about quality.
And sometimes you can have the cherry turn red, but that doesn't mean that the seed inside is green. So, like fully full of all the sugars.
So the cause of it: improper picking of unripe cherries, uneven ripening on late ripening varieties grown at high altitude. I'll just pull that. More commonly found in dry process sorted coffees due to lack of water usage. Water usage basically allows for unripe cherries to be easily separated because they float, called floaters. So the natural process coffees don't get separated so easily. Mold. That's what it is. I like this one, poorly vented cellar. I got that out of the cup of handbook. Inadequate drying, overly humid, poorly ventilated conditions. Cupper's Handbook. This is, I love this. The Cupper's Handbook, literally, one after another. Smith said, mustiness due to age is undesirable. Right after that, Coopers. Must of age is very desirable. So, to each their own, or this print. I mean, one guy says, oh, it's good. The other guy says, oh, it's not good. Poorly sorted. This just basically goes from full blacks to whatever else you want to put into it. You know, usually it comes with a variety of flavors like rubber, chemical, medicinal, dirt, mold. The cause of it is poorly managed processing techniques, lack of proper sorting equipment, or improper usage of the sorting equipment. And I think maybe it has a lot to do with lack of financial incentive. Basically, like, well, if the yield's there, the money's good, and the quality would actually cost more to produce. You know, that's that argument. I don't know what kind of economics that is, but that's what I'm assuming. Most farmers are like, we need money. We don't need to spend extra time doing this because the sea market's up. We're good to go. And people are going to buy it anyway, and at a relatively good price depending on where the sea market is. So. And then coffee robusta. I just put this up here. It's like, okay, robusta is not a defect, but to me it tastes like rubber, and so it's different attributes depending on the type of robusta there is. Yeah, it's not defective. But I bet you, like half of you, if there was a cup on the table and half of it was robusta, you would probably spit it out and be like, that's defective. And that might be a weed, you know, basically a plant that's out of place. And I close on that. That was a nice little segue to end. So let's start cupping.